Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Hello there folks, and welcome back to Weird Who. This show's all about taking a look at the weird and wacky side of Doctor Who, be it something official or something truly bizarre. And last time we went back to the late 70s to look at how another TV show could parody Doctor Who, that being end of part 1, and their quite frankly bizarre Doctor Eyes. We're sticking around the 70s, journeying a few years earlier, and to two characters that were an absolute mainstay for children of the era, that being Rod Hull and his ever-faithful Emu. These two got up to all sorts of hilarity and calamity, so it may surprise you to learn that they gave their own take on Doctor Who. So let's tune in to EBC 1 and enjoy another exciting instalment of Doctor Emu. Well, do you feel enlightened? Where to even begin with this one, eh? Well, for starters, you know it's going to be a tongue-in-cheek Doctor Who parody when they're having a go at the title sequence, replicated in tinfoil no less. Official Who cues are used, such as the theme music and the sound of the TARDIS. Oh, and speaking of the TARDIS, a red telephone box. Oh, how original. Nah, for real though, it's a nice opening, despite being a parody, already gives it that bit of Who feel and vibe. As you can see from the caption card, Dr. Emu will be meeting the Deadly Dustbins, who unlike most actual Doctor Who stories, don't wait until the end of Part 1 to appear. Crouching down, we see our heroes observe the advance of the Deadly Dustbins, which, quite literally, are just plastic bins that the production team probably picked up from Woolworths. Poking fun at Doctor Who's production values is an easy target for sure, but when done so unashamedly like this, you can't help but laugh. Especially when the lids of these bins are flapping about every second as they utter their iconic chant. It's interesting that these actually sound like Dalek voices. Clearly the same ring modulator settings of the era were used, and I'd hazard a guess that they were provided by Michael Wisher or Roy Skelton perhaps, as they were common voices for the Pepper Potts in this period. Speaking of Dr. Emu himself for a second, we see they're going for the likeness of the current Doctor of the day, Tom Baker. We've got the floppy hat and the absurdly long scarf, not to mention the human being. Actually, hang on. This is Dr. Emu, right? So Emu is the Doctor and Rod Hull is his companion? Maybe? I'm going way too deep into this now, aren't I? We soon learn what the Deadly Dustbins are up to. They're just a little bit peckish. More so that they view everything as rubbish, therefore everything is edible. Washing from the clothesline, someone's bike, even Dr. Emu's scarf isn't safe from their potential havoc. However, the good Doctor with his own gob is able to pluck the scarf from their dastardly lids. As they give chase, the Doctor and Rod find an abandoned garbage truck, which just may come in handy. And meanwhile, the Dustbins are getting up to some saucy behaviour, goodness me. After using their sonic screwdriver... wait, hang on. Okay, after using something to open the truck door, Dr. Emu sets out to confront the Dustbins and save the day. But they're waiting for him. Oh yes sir, they're... Whoa, how fast was that one? Look at him go! Oh man, that's got speed. Using their newly acquired vehicle, they back up towards the villains, who of course retort with... Oh god, get Ainsley Harriott out of my head!
Give your meat a good old rub.
Finally in position, Dr. Emu, being the clever sod that he is, pulls the lever, which catches the Deadly Dustbins unaware, pulling all three, well, two technically, up into the jaws of the garbage truck. Oh look, there they all are. I wonder how that happened. A job well done, Dr. Emu and his ever-faithful companion Rod head back to their TARDIS, which promptly leaves without them. But hey, they still get the phone part. Kinda reminds me actually when the third Doctor had to use the TARDIS console outside of the ship itself. Neat. So that, dear viewer, was Dr. Emu, and aren't we all glad that he was able to wipe out those Deadly Dustbins? Well, you may be interested to know that there was a sequel. That's right, Dr. Emu returned in, well, the Return of the Deadly Dustbins. Now, just a heads up, the first part of this episode I could only find in really poor quality, so please excuse how muddy the first couple of minutes looks. Normal quality resumes about halfway through. So with that, back to EBC 1.
EBC has decided, at great expense, to make yet another episode of Doctor Emu.
Think they'll make a part 3? I doubt it somehow. Starting off with the titles, we've upgraded from tinfoil to a somewhat decent attempt with technology. Not bad at all. Dr. Emu lands in his red telephone box, which has some trouble materialising. I get it's meant to be a gag, but it just doesn't get me giggling, I'm afraid. Bring on the dustbins. In a surprising bit of continuity, we're shown the city dump, the resting ground for the dustbins after they were disposed of last episode. But sure enough, they rise from their trash-laden grave and began gobbling up anything in sight, including human beings. Appalled by what they see, the good doctor and his trusty companion hitch a ride to the city itself in order to face their deadliest foes. They throw out rubbish from the back of their truck, though I'm not sure what they're trying to achieve. We've established that the dustbins will eat anything, so are you trying to knock them over? To be fair, looking at how cheap they are, they'd probably roll away in a strong breeze. Of course we hear them saying their catchphrase, but they seem to be expanding their vocabulary. But what are they saying? Disco? This road? I think they're trying to say dispose? I really don't know, man. Learn to enunciate. Also, their voices have now changed and sound noticeably less Dalek. I wonder if the first time around was a bit too close to the mark for the Terry Nation estate, eh? When we return to a somewhat decent quality picture, we see the news has already got a hold of the story of invasion. In what, to me at least, is a nice little callback to the posters seen in the Web of Fear. The Deadly Dustbins continue their rampage, skirting through shops, terrifying patrons, terrorising children. When will it end? The Dustbins start rounding up humans and whoa, look at that, there's like 8 of them now? Talk about upping your production budget, EB, sheesh. Our heroes start formulating their plan, luring the plastic menaces onto a bridge by throwing out... what else? Getting them right where they want them, Dr. Emu once again pulls a lever, which causes the bridge to rise up, and because the Deadly Dustbins just can't stop moving forward for whatever reason, they all plummet straight into the water, presumably drowning in the process. Gee, talk about a dark ending, Dr. Emu. Jesus, what did they do to you? Satisfied that their work is complete, our heroes pull the door closed. Honestly, this ending is just sinister, man. They drown the poor Dustbins, look very happy that they've done so, and then shy away in secrecy? What are you hiding, Doctor Emu? All in all then, how does this hold up? I mean, it's pure 70s madness, but it parodies Doctor Who rather faithfully. The titles, the sound cues, in fact the music as a whole does a good job of sounding like a piece in a late 70s Who adventure. The pastiches are done in the most tongue-in-cheek way possible, and the whole thing remains surprisingly amusing nearly 50 years later. Rod Hull and Emu are very much like Marmite. People either recall them fondly, or recall how they despise them. But they did bring joy to millions of viewers for decades, and if this parody's testament to anything, the fact that they can elicit laughs without even saying a word, that's a talent indeed. Farewell, Dr. Emu. I hope that one day we can look forward to your next adventure. Hopefully without any deadly dustbins. And I can't get them out of my head! Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Hooks Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Brittany Fan 1999, Bruce Danton, The Broken Kitsumanoid, and Francine Salazar, our AMTV staff members.